All right, hey everyone. Hope you guys are doing well. Decided to take most of the week off just to kind of take some time to do other projects. But um, based off of our last conversation, our last pocket change market report, I told you guys, hey, we're kind of going to get into a little bit of a holiday slowdown here with Christmas and everything. Well, it might be time. It might be time to finally blast that particular expectation out of the water. All right. Here we are, 4 days away from Christmas, and you would think a couple of things. Number one, people aren't buying coins, right? They're not buying coins at any price level. Higher end coins, lower end coins, what have you. The market is shook up right now. Silver, gold, it's all dropping. The world is kind of falling, right? There's just nothing that people are, I guess, incentivized to go out there and buy in the collectibles world of numismatics. Okay, wrong. Could be a more wrong than I am right now, and I do apologize about this. When we're seeing a trend over the course of the last 4 years, all right, that during this particular time of the year, okay, if we took out holidays out of the equation and we looked at September to about May, it's just gangbusters busy in the hobby. A lot of that has to do with new people coming on board. A lot of it is social media driven. Whether you're picking up information on YouTube on how to get started with coin collecting, for example, or certain coins that you need to be on the lookout for. 2024 Jefferson Nichols, high atop the list even today. Good luck with that, by the way. Whatever it is that you're utilizing to get some sort of dopamine fix to get yourself excited for the hobby, all right, it's there. And it's because of that that we are seeing unprecedented growth in the hobby, all right, from both sides, right? From the numismatic sides, from the precious metal sides. Stacking can be a more popular, irrespective of what's happening in the market today, a strong dollar, inflation dropping, things of that nature, okay? Um, Things just have been a lot more different since 2020. Okay, what happened back then? We had the pandemic, COVID, right? Which really changed a lot of the market sentiment and perspectives across the board. Came to be that every sector of collectibles, it doesn't matter if it's coins, sports cards, or comic books, it really didn't matter. People were all diving into it. A lot of it driven by government money, of course, but we're not going to get into that deep conversation. But since then, things have been atypical. Prior to 2020, this time every year during the holidays, there really was a slowdown, right? But over the course again of the last 4 years, we have seen just an incredible 180-degree switch, and we have seen that again here this year. I actually have, because I haven't seen you guys in over a week. 30 coins to talk about, all selling within the last 24 hours. A very busy, very active market on eBay for even things like die varieties and mint errors. We're going to talk a lot about what we have here. Paper money is still very atop the collectibles chart as well. So we have a few of those that we will be looking at. But I really did miss you guys. All right, so I just need a little bit of time, and we're back, baby. We are back, and we're not on this video to talk about a few coins because the market is quiet this week. It is anything else but that. All right, so with that being said, I thought I would have half a month off from whatnot. No, that's simply not the case. All right, busy. It's still very busy. We've been doing unprecedented buying on this side. All right, a lot of local collections heading my way, small, medium, large sized. So as a result, we've been doing the shows. The shows have been blockbuster. The last couple days, this past week has been very exciting, and we got more of these coming up. We got some big, huge announcements coming for 2025. Again, that will excite you because something completely different. If you're watching this from YouTube, now probably is the time to sign up. Okay, claim your $15 off. Get yourself ready for the ride of your life because Blue Ridge Silverhound has some pretty major stuff coming up. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag, but It's going to be awesome. It's going to affect everybody in a huge, very positive way. Um, it's gonna be cool. So stay tuned for that. Okay. We do shows every Friday as a constant. So even this next Friday, about 6 days from now, we will have another show. These begin at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Every Friday, come join us. Come sign up. I'll have the link down below in the description box. I'll even have it pinned in the comments section of the video. Please do so. And $15 off your first purchase. I mean, you can't beat that with a stick. It's like free money, free stuff, for you to look forward to. And that's not all. There's a lot more coming that you guys will love in the new year. All right, so let's go ahead and jump right in. We have quite a bit of a list, all coming from the last about day of activity. 2000 Lincoln Memorial Cent. This is what we call the wide AM reverse. Now you can find these through 3 different dates: 98, 99, which is the key. That's the expensive one, and the year 2000. So the 98 and 2000 are what we call the more common dates to find this wide AM variety. Now, if we look at the reverse, and I didn't do any sort of imposed close-up of this particular part, but the letters A and M in America, they have a pretty significant gap at the base. Okay, and that's what you're going to be looking for, because normally on a regular 2000 Lincoln Memorial Cent, the A and M would be touching at the base. This one is not. The mint, simply, they use the wrong set of dies to create, a few of these coins, and because of that, they have become very collectible. Even today, even some of these more common dates, okay, they still have value. They're not worth nothing. This particular example, which has seen a fair amount of circulation, it's not perfect at all, ended up selling on the platform for $10.68. It may not seem like a lot, but how about if I pitch it to you this way? It's sold for 1,068 times face value. Now, that seems like it's a little bit more significant, right? Yeah, kind of crazy. And these coins, nearly 25 years later, still incredibly relevant. And as most people begin to kind of like jump on board to numismatics and coin collecting, one of the first things, what do we know about these folks that jump into the hobby for the first time? Oftentimes, they're looking through their pocket change. Oftentimes, they're going through bank rolls for the thrill of the hunt. And this is going to be one of those first coins that they will find. Um, Again, it's not nothing. These coins still very relevant in today's market. You could sell every one for $10. You might as well, because you will find more of these. Here's one that I've been highly critical of over the last 2 years. 2023 Lincoln Shield Cent. We've seen quite a few of these. This one was minted in Philadelphia. It is sans any sort of notable mint mark on the coin, which means that it was minted at the Philadelphia Mint. There's a pretty big variety that did find itself, during the release of this coin, and it was eventually, I guess, granted, its ownership of the variety. This is the extra V type of this coin. Mike Diamond, who is one of the big variety and error people out there today, said, yeah, this is a legit thing. And because of that, where this coin really took off last year was when the big grading companies decided to attribute these, all starting with Annex, and then NGC jumped on board, and then finally PCGS. By the time you got the latter of the two, NGC and PCGS, once they dove on board, these things shot up in value. All right, but there's just so many of them that we've seen the values eventually crater, especially on graded examples. Coins that graded 65 and 6, have dropped all the way down to about 100, 150 bucks. Where, at the very beginning, when they were just grading them for the first time, those examples were selling off the market for $5, $600, somewhere around there. Today, the ones that are much more meaningful are going to be your top pop examples. I believe there's a few examples that grade out in mid-state 68, I believe. They're worth right around $1,000. All right, so raw ones you would think would just drop to just a few bucks a coin because they are quite common. These were originally dumped in the state of New York, I believe, and probably coming from the New York Fed Reserve Bank and distributed into the actual, I guess, upstate New York is where a lot of these were found. Um, this particular one, here's a close up, by the way. You can see the little extra V right next to Victor David Brenner's initials, just to the right, still on that little that wedge of the bust right there. This particular coin ended up selling here for $56.40, which is crazy to me. Crazy. That's how much they were selling a year ago when the fever was at an all-time high for these things. Now, apparently, they're still worth money. All right, but of course, the ones that are going to be worth the most amount of money are going to be the better conditioned pieces, like the ones that look like they were just minted yesterday. That's one of these here. Um, Circulated examples, from what I've seen, have been going for about 10, 20 bucks. All right, and here's another one that was hot a few years ago. 2021 P Washington crossing the Delaware. This is a one-shot, one-design specific coin. They actually put the date back on the obverse, and that got a lot of people excited. But the reverse, it's as iconic as I would say the Drummer Boy bicentennial quarter. This thing is going to live on pretty graciously. But eagle-eyed collectors were able to find some pretty neat min errors on these. From field-restricted strike-throughs to this anomaly you see here called the crown die chip, or it's just a large die chip right on top of Washington's hat on the reverse there. That's what you're looking for. This one has seen quite a bit of circulation where this one sold for $22. Believe it or not, they finding one will get you a $20 bill each and every single time. I've never seen any of them sell here recently for under this amount of money. So be on the lookout for these. They're very, very equitable even to this day. Pretty neat one here. This thing has a whole lot of stuff happening. It's a 1972 Roosevelt dime. It's missing the reverse clad layer, so that's why it looks copper. All right, is that it doesn't have the nickel layer on the reverse. What's even more crazy, when we look at the edge, the other side with the nickel layer is actually clamshelling off of the copper. Look how thick that copper layer is on there. This thing is insane. It's a kind of like a dual error, right? It's missing the clad layer and it's a clamshell lamination all in one. So I wasn't at all surprised when this one ended up selling here this morning for $118 at 95 cents. Usually clamshells by themselves, typically go for about 20 to 50 bucks. Sometimes a little bit higher. You never know on the buyer, the collector, and how much they're willing to pay. All right, this one right here has a lot going for it, and I would presume that the coin, if it was in a graded holder, and usually I don't endorse grading when it comes to min errors and varieties, but this might be one of those off instances where it would make a little bit of sense because it would certainly add value. Plus, it'll also add reassurance if this thing were to go back out into the open market. It would sell very well in, say, in an NGC or Annex holder than just raw. All right, this one, boy, this was a heater from the moment it got posted, and this particular seller had a number of these lots, and damn it, I tell you what, I missed out on this, and he had a whole bunch of them too. So he was selling this particular variety here. This is the LP2 formative years Lincoln cent, and it's got the doubled thumb DDR. This is the FS801. It's the big one, folks. It's the one that we all strive to look for when we're going through coins. What's even more crazy, and here's a little close up of that doubled thumb. That's iconic, of course. But what is even more crazy about how this guy was selling these? He was selling them by the roll, 50 of them, all gem, BU, beauties. These things are absolutely disgusting. You're never gonna believe how much these things sold for. Each and every single roll sold out at $199.95. $4 per coin, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. This is the type of thing that me personally I would buy into just to hold on to because I love the aspect of BU rolls, sealed equity, things like that. But this particular variety, when you have all 50 of them in a roll, is crazy. And not to mention, what's even more insane is that this particular seller had found so many of these that he had like 30 lots of these, and they all sold out. All sold out. He made thousands of dollars here. He could have made a lot more selling them individually because they typically go for about $10 to $15 raw as single coins. Wow, but I'm telling you, I really missed out on this one. I would assume that he sold out of all of them within a day. All right, this is an obvious no-brainer, and for a someone out there that loves to submit large grading orders to the grading companies, or they like to sell these individually, off market. Yeah, this is a real money maker here, even at $200. That's only $4 a coin. And again, they sell for a lot more than that. All right, next one that we have here, we do have paper money, 1988A $5 bill here. Crazy misalignment of all the print is very evident on this one. At first glance, it looks miscut, but what about the overprint? The overprint is obviously wonky on this one, or is it the second print with the black? That is misaligned on the sheet. There could be a lot of things happening, and then when we flip the note over, it seems okay. It's not a perfectly centered, reverse, but it's pretty close to it. So the registration wasn't plumb to the front of what was printed on the front of the note or that sheet. So again, not all surprised. This is a pretty wacky paper money error. Always be on the lookout for these, whether at a show or in circulation. $300.79 was the final price on this one. 31 total bids. Very impressive. Another great paper money error here. We have a butterfly fold, as you can see on this older $1981 bill. When we flip it over, okay, you can see that evident there. So after all the printing occurred, that the corner of the sheet had folded over, and it was subsequently cut. All right. This one right here sold for $83.05 with 21 bids. There is some staining on the note, for accuracy. So again, not the perfect piece, but yeah, pretty nice little butterfly on this one. And on this particular one, 1981A dollar bill, another nice one, but you're not going to see anything happening on the front of the note. It just looks pretty normal and a little bit of circulation. Wear on there. Flip this thing over, we have a full front to back wedding transfer. All right, so there was a ghostly image that's reversed. That was on the impression cylinder that you had transferred over to the back of the next corresponding sheet. And they start out dark, and as each sheet gains an impression, that impression gets lighter all the way across the board. So this one here ended up bringing home $116.29 with 32 bids. That is quite delectable. I love a full front to back or back to front transfer. When it's 100% and you have the whole design transferred over, that's where these things really cook. All right, probably not the best deal, but again, we all strive to find that buzzer-beating kind of lot, right? One that you could buy and then flip all the coins individually. This is a 6-coin Lincoln cent lot. They're all the Memorial Reverse, and they're all Zinkins. They're zinc compositions. The lot ended up selling for $54.24. Okay, the only problem is here, what kind of profit do we expect on this lot? One of the things that's working against this, and again, this is some of the research that you're going to have to cover when you're looking for lots, is what does the lot offer you from a value standpoint? This one, while it looks impressive for $54, the coins aren't anything special. You know, I mean, they're all tremendous mint errors, but none of the coins like have a real full readable date, and that, my friends, is actually one of the components that really does matter to these particular errors. They need to see a full readable date because they're collected by date. So the 6 coins that you see here, $54.24, probably a long shot for making any sort of measurable amount of profit. You'll be lucky to make maybe $1 or $2 a piece on each of the coins when all said and done. But you know, be on the lookout for other lots like that roll of 2009 Lincoln Cents. That was the best. That's like one of the best examples of a lot to be on the lookout for. Again, this is one that would generally, fall through the cracks unnoticed. 1976 $2 bill with a slightly, oh my gosh, this thing is slightly misaligned overprint. Just look at the green district seal above the word two, and it's not perfectly centered. Not to mention that top right serial number is kind of encroaching on some of the base design there. All right, anytime you have those elements kind of overlapping, that's where it's like the most meaningful here. So this note, out of the blue, sold for $31 with 10 bids. Okay, and this was organically bid up to that. This was not a buy it now, kind of scenario here. There were a number of people that were genuinely interested in this piece. One of my favorites, again, we should all look through 1972 Philly Lincoln Cents. If you don't look through them, maybe you shouldn't be in the hobby in the first place, because this is the ultimate date here for all sorts of great doubled dies. This is the FS 102 or DDO number 2. Beautiful gem red example. And here's a few things to be on the lookout for. The motto is going to be all nice and doubled on there. In God we trust. The date is going to have some notching and splitting, and Liberty as well. All right, so look for all these elements on every single 1972 Lincoln Cent. You'll find them. The more that you go through, the more your better odds are of finding one of the 9 biggest varieties of this particular date. So this one sold for $153.90. Again, that's pretty much par for the course. It is the usual going rate for these particular coins. Very expensive when you find them. Even circulated examples tend to fall in that $30 to $50 range, which is still not nothing. That's still a lot of money for just a coin that came out of circulation. 2004D, quite minor here, a little bit of a broad strike, Roosevelt dime, and dimes getting a little bit more attention paid to it. Another great one here. This one ended up selling for $28.97 with 9 bids. All right, again, this one getting all sorts of love on eBay here in the last day or two. And that's good to see. Glad to see a revival of sorts of one of the most ignored U.S. coins ever. And because, they're going to redesign it for 2026 for the semi-quincentennial event. This is one to be on the lookout for. More and more people are going to love the dime even more the closer we get to that release event. Another neat one here. Lincoln Cents are rife of all sorts of things to look for, and that's why we, as a community, prefer to look through Lincoln Cent rolls than we do anything else. 1989 Lincoln Memorial with a nice size cut die break right there on the obverse, right above in and God over there. So this particular one sold for $85.01. That's got to be like a world record or something for this coin. Usually I see him sell for right around 30 to 40 bucks. So someone really, really needed this one. And, again, when it comes to the market and pricing, it's whatever someone's willing to pay for the coin in that event during that time. Is it overpriced? Maybe not necessarily. If it's the only one available of that attribution, then it's going to have more value because it's the only one. It's going to call it unique or whatever, and that's kind of how this revolving live market, that we're living in right now. Not only coins but everything else. That's kind of how it works. It's what someone is willing to pay for it at this given moment. 1984P Washington Quarter with a pretty nice, sizable misaligned dies. All right, so the obverse is pretty well off center, but the reverse looks fine, right? It's not following the same off-centered, spread as what you see on the front of the coin. So that obverse die was a little loose. It had some play, so it might strike up coins, a little bit jarring, kind of like what you see here. Nice centered reverse, off center front. That's what they call a misaligned die. So this one here, folks, sold for $21.51 with 5 bids. Very nice. Uh, Holy crap, what a tough date. People collect Lincoln cents, especially off centers, and they do it by date. This is one that I'm willing to bet people have been waiting for like a year for it to come in the marketplace, and it did not disappoint. 1949 S. Off center struck Lincoln wheat cent. It's not perfect by any means. It's got a few carbon spots. It's not the perfect example, but it does look good. It's got a little bit of mint red all throughout. Um, how about $60.50 with 5 bids? That's pretty good, right? I feel like it could be a little bit more than that, but just seeing one of these available on the market today is part of what makes it impressive. It's just you could go 12 months or 24 months without seeing a specific coin, and once it pops up, there are people that do miss it because they tend to think that, oh, there's not going to be anytime soon coming up on eBay, and then one kind of like again slides through a lot of people's minds, and yeah, this one ended up selling for what I consider to be a semi-underwhelming amount. I feel like it could have been over $100, and I would have been fine with that. 1981 dollar bill with ink smear. All right, pretty common event on some of these. There have actually been a few of them that have popped out in change. I've found a few of them over the years. Nice clean back on this one. This one sold for $134.99. Okay, pretty good pricing there on that one. And one of my favorite varieties. I haven't found one of these in years. It's the 1943 over 2, and it's only on the Philadelphia coin. This is the overdate. All right, and it's in the Cherry Picker's Guide and all that stuff. Very well known. So on this one, you got to make sure that when you look at the 3, okay, it's got that diagonal line break from the base of the 3 that goes up and to the right. But most importantly, you got to make sure it's got the flat base as well at the bottom curl of the 3. You can see that flat base, which is the base of the 2 underneath all that. If it doesn't have that flat base, it's just a die crack, all right, which does exist. This particular one, the seller had it as like an AU plus, which is like an AU 58. This one sold for $77 with 6 bids. So pretty nice one. Not a bad little cherry pick here. And again, another one to be on the lookout for. The good old bolo, right? Yeah, can almost read the full date, right? 1950s Lincoln wheat cent. It's pretty weakly struck on the right side. So what do we have here? Well, it's a tapered planchet. Tapered in a sense that the thickness is normal on the left side of the coin if you're looking at the front, but it's quite a bit thinner on the right side. All right, so when the strip was rolled out, okay, it rolled thin at a specific area where the blank was punched out. So it's not going to strike up all of the features. You can see it doesn't even have a full rim on both sides, which is iconic of a tapered planchet strike. This one right here sold for, a little bit, $6.64. Some people call this one a strike through, and I think that's what the seller used in the terminology, was just either a weak strike or a strike through on this one, when in reality it's struck on tapered planchet. If they could have used that one, it probably would have sold for like 10, $15. Not a huge amount, but there is a little bit of a difference. All right. State quarters. We've seen quite a few of them pop out here in the last month or so, especially with minor little errors, because people are still looking for their off-center strikes and things like that as they put together their sets. Here's a 99D broad strike. It's very minor. It's small. Again, this is something that typically a lot of people would miss. I know a lot of people would miss this one. So this one sold for $28. Where if it was on any other date quarter outside of the state quarter series, it'd be like a $10 coin, because it's that minor. But on the state quarters, it's much more meaningful because there's a lot of dedicated collectors of this series. A couple really neat die clashes. 1984 Philly Lincoln Memorial is the first one up. You can see this one has a pretty strong die clashing on the obverse, where you see in the fields behind Lincoln right there. You can see the bars of or the bays of the Lincoln Memorial that was struck onto that obverse die. Um, so a clash occurs when there's no blank in the striking chamber, and then the obverse and reverse dies, the anvil and hammer dies, they clash together. All right. So they hit once, leaving their respective impressions on each other's dies. So this one right here, what we sell this one for? $28.94. Pretty. I mean, these are nice. Die clashes is like easy guaranteed money. If you take good pictures of them, you're good to go. Here's another one here too, 1959D. This one I haven't seen a whole lot of, but this particular seller, I think, found a number of them in a BU roll because they had 6 or 7 of them, and they all got bought out at the same time, probably by the same collector. So this particular picture doesn't do this one justice, but when we change the lighting a little bit, right there, yeah, you can see it quite a bit stronger. All right. Yeah, the clashing is very nice and strong on the front of Lincoln and behind his head as well in Liberty. So this one right here, they all sold with shipping for $27.50 each. And again, the same seller had like 6 or 7 of them, and he sold out of all of them at the same price. So that's a pretty nice little rip there. I would take that every day of the week and even on certain Sundays. 1951, man, I haven't seen this particular variety in a long time. Glad to see one pop up. And, at first I was like, man, it's sold for way too much money. I thought about it for a little bit longer. And I'm like, nah, it was probably all right. 1951 D over D repunch mint mark variety. And this thing is gorgeous. This is a nice high grade piece. There's a little bit of a look at the secondary Denver Mint Mark punched south and west of the primary. This is actually RPM number 1, and it's sold for $40. But can you imagine if this one was pretty well circulated and brown and all that stuff? Probably would have sold for about $10. So even still, condition really does matter quite a bit on varieties too. This one, no exception. All right, we had to throw this one in here. This thing is crazy with all sorts of crap happening to it. 1863 Civil War token. This is the New York Broas Pie Baker type. This is the one that's notorious for the die clashing and the shattered die obverse and things like that. This one here, a little bit different variant. You do have a little bit of a die clash on the reverse, but you also have a rim clip when you look at the front, the very top of the coin, and then all of those cut die breaks on the front. Now we have to keep in mind, Civil War tokens were produced very crudely, so something like this was very normal at the time. You're just giving alternative monetary instruments to people to use to buy stuff. And that's what this was. People were hoarding regular money during the Civil War. So, finding regular, cents and nickels and dimes and things like that were kind of tough. So all these merchants and vendors, they had to come up with their own form of monetary instrument to pass down to the people. And yeah, that's where this one came from. So the good old Pie Baker tokens, they all have some sort of error. They're all very popular even today. This one sold for $75. Okay, again, that's not the highest I've seen, but this one's pretty neat. Another great repunch mint mark, 1956 D over D. This is actually the FS 501, the Cherry Picker's Guide variety. There you go. Do you see the double D's in there? I mean, if you don't, maybe you should put your glasses on. You probably saw 4Ds. But, another great one. This one is actually pretty common out there, and as a result, this one sold for $17.69. 4 total bids. Let's keep going. I was waiting to get to this one. I still love these, and one day I will get them. The money is very strong on the 1984 doubled ear Lincoln set. These are the FS 101s. They are considered doubled dies by nature. Okay, so they're in the cherry picker's guide and things like that. There you go. The doubled earlobe. Very unmistakable, very strong. You know what you're getting here with this one. Glad to see this one not integrated holder. A lot of people are quick to send this to, a grading company. Not necessary. This one ended up selling in a buy it now kind of fashion for $183.58. So pretty cool. Glad to see one. As of right now, this one is not going in the old collection, but maybe someday I will find one that will suit my need. And another one that dominated the auction scene a few years ago, 2020 American Samoa National Park with Mama Bat and Baby Bat. This one, of course, has the Mama Bat with a strike through right on its face. Not the biggest one, but still a good one. And these are still being found in circulation, guys. What else can I say? This one here, $69.99. Imagine just finding a whole bunch of these. And it's like, bam, 50, 60 bucks a pop all the way across the board. Now you can rake in so much cash, finding multiples of these. And they're not exactly rare either. Quite a few of these have been found out there in circulation. 1979 Jefferson nickel with an obverse cud die break right there at 7 o'clock. If you looked at the front of the coin, 7 o'clock, that raised break right there. $35.32, 4 bids. Again, very consistent sales on your cud die breaks. Here's one that time forgot, 2022 Lincoln Shield set with the strike through on the obverse. We call this one the good old ray wave Lincoln eyes, or laser beam eyes is what this one is. Kind of reminds me of the character Cyclops from the X-Men films, But yeah, that is indeed a strike through right there. Many more of them, longer, thinner, bigger. They got them in all different shapes and sizes. And again, it was another great find back a couple years ago. Still very relevant today. You know how I know? Because it sold for $30.94. Yeah, 2 years later down the road, still selling for a $30 bill. Here's our other great state quarter, and we haven't seen one of these before. Nebraska in 2006, and it's a Denver. This one is a little minor broad strike. Look at the thickness of that rim there. Compared to anywhere else. So a little bit of an out of collar strike for sure. Yeah, surprising. For something as minor as this, keep in mind Nebraska is non-existent in the market. People are just now finding some of the later dated state quarter errors. They're just not. They're just not out there. So even minor ones like this, they look like rock stars in comparison. Okay, no pun intended. For with the chimney rock and all that, it's still sold for $49.99. Wow. And we've seen some pretty wild, nicer off-center strikes, like 15, 20% off-center strikes on some of the more common dates, like Georgia and Connecticut. That sell for the same amount of money. So there you go. That's just proof in the pudding that some of these later dates are very tough and very pricey. And the last coin of the weekend. How about our good old boy Washington here? From probably the 70s. This one's sold by a company called In God We Trust Coins and Currency. I tell you, if you guys put your logo on your images, I will actually retain the logo and talk about your company. In God We Trust has been selling for a while on the platform, and they have some banging stuff. And look at these images. They do a really good job taking photos for their listings. Now, you see that big cut die break right above the date. You don't know what the date is because it's obscured by the fact that the die had broken off. It struck this beauty. Yeah, these things are awesome. This one sold for $90.55. That's like the average rate, $90 to $110 on a lot of these, and this one is in superb shape as well. All right, well, that's going to go ahead and do it. Man, it's been a week, so we packed the PCMR quite good this week with 30 coins and paper money to talk about. Information in this video is for educational use only. That's important, not financial advice. Please collect and or grade your coins responsibly. Okay? And thank you guys again for tuning in. I want to wish you guys a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. We should do one more. Believe it or not, Christmas is on Wednesday this year. And, we do a PCMR generally every Wednesday. So maybe I'll do one for you guys for Wednesday. And yeah, call it that. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in. You guys have been fantastic. Go ahead and join up on Whatnot. I'm telling you, we got some great stuff coming after the first of the year, and you won't want to miss it. I'm your host, Sean, with Blue Ridge Silverhound. Thank you guys again. Have a great rest of your weekend, and I will see you guys next time. So long.